and welcome. David Levin here, Raising Your Game Today. This is Tuesday, so we're talking about the mental game of sports and competition. Fridays are for the rest of our lives. Today I want to continue our mental game lessons from Novak Djokovic, the great tennis player. He gave an interview recently where he shared his 6 top tips for his mental game, and he has one of the strongest mental games ever, and tennis is probably the toughest mental game sport, so we are paying attention to what he has to say on the subject. Last episode, we talked about his first tip, focus on your inhales and exhales, meaning box breathing, where you breathe in 4 counts, hold 4 counts, breathe out 4 counts, hold 4 counts. That's his main mental game tool during competition for getting out of his head and back into the moment. And we said that's just one of the many ways to do that. But that specific mental game skill, cognitive control, is the most powerful and important skill you can develop. It really is job one for your mental game. His second tip was to watch your opponent and observe how they're doing, to look for things you can take advantage of, and also to give you more confidence that they're likely having the same struggles you are, if not worse. I thought that was especially interesting and something of an advanced tip. I know playing pickleball, for example, my game is new enough that I'm still focused on more basic things like getting the ball over the net. I'm not at a level yet where I can make the shots and also be thinking about higher level strategic things like that. Speaking of advanced tips, his tip number 3 is to use fear to your advantage. Now, he talks about this in a slightly different way than we do in our advanced mental game training, but I really love it. He says he uses all the things he's afraid of to motivate him to play at his highest level. He's afraid of losing the match, letting himself down, letting others down, his coach, fans, etc., not giving the performance people expect. So rather than ignoring those worries because they stress him out, he faces them head on, looks right at them, and uses that fear to boost his game. It's really great. The only difference between that and what we talk about is that he's limiting it to fears. But the general idea is to take any negative energy and turn it into positive fuel to take your game higher. The example we use in our training is Michael Jordan, who famously would trash talk opponents, trying to get him to trash talk him back so he could use that conflict energy to boost his game. And you could do the same with any negative thing, a bad call, a mistake, bad sportsmanship, the crowd being against you. There are all kinds of things that happen in competition that feel like bad things, but you can take those and turn them into a positive. And the way you do that is, number 1, notice the feeling rather than get pulled into it. If you're not paying attention to what's going on internally with sort of a detached observer mode, rather than being able to say, okay, I notice I'm getting angry, you'll just be angry, which is the opposite of what you want, because getting upset pulls you more into your head. But if you can keep that distant observer mode, you can notice when you start to feel that way, and then you can just reframe it. Tell yourself in your mind, nope, this isn't bad, it's just more energy, I love it, and ride that wave to a higher level. I mentioned this really is an advanced skill, but you'd expect that from Novak, first of all. But it is something you can still work on at any level, no matter what level you're at. His tip number 4 mostly applies to players who've been doing it for a while, but it is to use your experience. Meaning, take what you've learned over time and let that give you a more positive perspective on what's happening. You've been in a spot like this before. You know what it's like. You know how to deal with it. You know it's not as bad as it seems. You can overcome it. You can still, win and be your best. Also, you can use your wisdom to overcome physical limitations. I have a friend who plays pickleball, and he's a bit older like me, and he's not nearly as mobile as younger players, but his greater knowledge of the game and experience means he can still win by playing smarter and making better shot choices. So in both those cases, your experience can give you not only strategic ideas, but also confidence that your opponent doesn't have. And that's really the biggest killer of peak performance. When we lose confidence, everything else goes with it, right? This is one of the biggest things I hear from parents of the junior athletes I work with. They're playing great, but something goes wrong, they get upset. All of a sudden, their confidence goes, and you can just see it in their body language, and everything else falls apart from there. As an athlete, learning how to develop and strengthen and boost your confidence when it takes a hit might be the best thing you can do to consistently play at your highest level. And to do that, it's the same basic process. First, you notice when it's slipping, which takes that detached self-awareness, which is something you can develop, and then you reframe it or just bring yourself back into the present. Our Raise Your Inner Game Sports Academy and Advanced Mental Game Mastery course are probably the quickest and most effective way to learn how to do that. But these tips from Novak Djokovic are also things you can definitely work on. I mean, if they're working for him, they're worth checking out. So that's part 2 of our series with tips 3 and 4. Use your fear to your advantage, or as we say, use any negative energy to your advantage, and use your experience to give you perspective, strategic ideas you can use, and the confidence you need to play at your highest level. If you'd like to learn more about our mental game training options, our Sports Academy training, and our Advanced Mental Game Mastery course, check out raiseyourinnergame.com. Next week, we'll finish up our Novak Lessons series. In the meantime, let me know any questions. Keep up the good work. I'll see you next time.